Hello everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through how I make my vector files from my handwriting or calligraphy. So the first thing I'm going to do here is import the writing. It's a PNG file that I did in Procreate and saved as a PNG so that I wouldn't have any background. And I'm working on a canvas that's 210 millimeters square. And here what I'm doing is just getting rid of the fill on my pen stroke and adding a colored stroke so that I can see what I'm doing as I trace around the outside of my letters. So what I do is I go around the whole outside. I don't separate any letters, I don't separate any lines, and I don't worry about the insides or the counterforms of any of the letters. All I'm doing is going around the outside. So using my pen, obviously I'm doing this a little bit roughly, and I'm going to have to go back and clean it up a bit at some point. But I've sped it up as well so that you don't have to watch me do this and it takes hours. It doesn't take hours. It took about 15 minutes, I suppose, altogether. So I'm going all the way around. At one point you'll see that I'm going to jump ahead and take you right to the end. But as I said, just all around the outside edges, and then we'll go back and clean it up in a while. So here I am coming to the end of my outside edge. Just have to fix up that last stroke a bit, and there we go. Now I'm not going to worry about cleaning it up too much right now. I will go back and clean it up at the end. Can't help myself, I'm cleaning it up a little bit. One thing that we have to be careful of is making our thin strokes not too thin, because we don't want the cutting machine to mess them up. They have to have a little bit of width to them, or the cutting machine is just not going to manage them very well, or at least that's been my experience with my scan and cut. So now what I'm doing is I'm going back with my pen, and now I'm tracing around the counterforms or the insides of my letters, or the insides anywhere where there's a closed shape in my file. So here you see I've done the inside of the A. I'm going to bring in my layers panel so that you can see it here. I'm going to choose both layers, the outside and the inside of the A, and I subtract the top layer from the bottom layer. And when I turned it off there, you saw what I had. And I'm moving along here. I'm going to do this inside of the P, which isn't really the inside because it's not just the round part of the P, but I've got the stem there as well that I have to work around. So I'm going around the H and then back up through the stem. And I do the same thing. I select the two layers and I subtract the top from the bottom. And I'm going to do that for each and every counterform or closed shape that there is in my writing file. Here again, I'm going to speed it up a bit so that you don't have to watch for an hour. Now here, when I get to my apostrophe, I do have a bit of a problem because it's not touching anything. So what I'm going to do is draw the apostrophe so that it actually touches the stem of the Y. You see here, I'm grabbing the stem of the Y there as well. And then I'm going to go back and modify the shape of it a bit. And then I'm going to separate the beginning and the end point of the apostrophe so that it hooks in nicely to the Y. And what I did there was I added the apostrophe shape to the outline shape. And I'm going to continue around, closing in or drawing all the counterforms. As you can see, I turn the image off quite regularly just so that I can see where I'm at, what I've done, and if there's anything that's blatantly poorly done. Careful not to make my thin stroke too very thin so that the cutting machine will handle it properly. You see that every once in a while I grab my node tool, and I go back and I change the curve a bit just to make it a bit better, smoother, nicer. There, when I turned off the image, I saw that I missed these two little loops in the P's. So that's why I'm going back to add them to the file. turn off the image, I can go back in and see where my shapes aren't nice and smooth and do what I can to clean that up a bit. Thought that my F, capital F, was not quite thick enough, so I've just added a bit of thickness to the downstroke, to the main stroke. Didn't really like the way that my A was looking either, so I got rid of that node and then went back to redo the shape. Wasn't sure where I was, so turned the image back on, fixed my curve, and then I can turn the image off again. Now I'm saving it first as an Affinity Designer file, and then what I'll do is I'll export it as an SVG file that I can then use directly on the cutting machine. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm shipping out or exporting to SVG. And that's the end. Now I can go open my Scan and Cut program and bring that file in to cut.